Good afternoon, everybody. We've got some interesting updates for you today. We'll start first with the more mundane approval of the minutes. Everybody should have a copy in their packets. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any?
Aye.
All right. The minutes from the last meeting have been approved. I'm going to turn it over to Brittany to start the CPS update, but in the course of that update, we'll also talk about the awards that the BAC recently won, thanks to all of your efforts, and the staff, of course, leading the charge, and also the Lieutenant Governor's visit to Hughes High School the other day that some of us had an opportunity to participate in. But Brittany, why don't you kick it off, and then we'll work that in.
Sure. I am going to share everything it popped off. Okay. So since we last got an opportunity to be with one another in this venue, I wanted to publicly acknowledge the awards the committee or the council received from the Ohio Department of Education. So I know we shared this out and the district also shared it out, but I wanted to publicly acknowledge the efforts of this collective unit. We were acknowledged by both Ohio Department of Education as well as with the Governor's Office of Workforce Transformation, and we were bestowed 2 honors. The first, we were the only district to receive an Excellence in Coordinating Career Development experience across the state, and we were also elected as one of 2 districts to receive the 4-Star Business Advisory Council. So kudos to everyone on this council and our partners who help us do this work day after day, year after year. We were really excited to receive this honor, and the recognition is definitely warranted. So I appreciate each and every one of you on behalf of Cincinnati Public Schools. We thank you for your service. Alan, did you want to share anything specifically?
Yeah, I'll just jump in. Some of you might have had a chance to watch the presentation, but it was pretty clear from listening to what some of the other BACs are doing around the state that we had just a tremendous head start with the BACC, and we're really able to hit the ground running at a high level, performing as a BAC. I think that what the school system is doing in conjunction with us is really far ahead of what many other districts had even contemplated at this point in terms of career development. There were some other interesting, innovative programs around the state. I think it'll be important for us to try to keep tab on what other BACs are doing to the extent we can, and not be afraid to share some ideas or steal some ideas as needed. But it was pretty clear that we had really gotten out ahead of many districts, especially of a comparable size. There were some smaller districts that had some good innovative programs, and one that I think won a couple of awards, but there really weren't other comparable size that were doing what we were doing. So again, just want to echo Brittany's congratulations to all for your efforts to guide us to this point, and let's keep going.
Wonderful, thank you. In addition to that, most recently, the Career-Based Learning team as well as the Career and Technical Education team collectively submitted a proposal to ODE to be selected as one of the pilot sites for a new information technology internship program specifically designed for high school students. We were also awarded that opportunity as well. And in concert with that, the Lieutenant Governor decided to make Cincinnati one of his stops on the end-to-end job speak circuit, and he came to visit Cincinnati Public Schools, particularly Hughes STEM High School, on Monday. So we received a lot of good insight into how our government officials can assist us And I want to specifically thank the members of the Business Advisory Council who were able to represent the council in its full totality. So thank you to Mona Morrow, Anthony Ricciardi, Jesse Simmons, and Alan Avis for their just wonderful representation of the committee. I think that a lot of the insights that were shared were helpful to the representatives that were at the table. And I think we were able to articulate what we've done, but also where we will go in the future and how they can support us. So thank you for that as well. Alan or Ms. Murphy, would you care to share any other sentiments that I may have missed about this visit?
Brittany, I think you've hit it 100%. And I would want to highlight some of the things that the students shared about their experiences with career-based learning are absolutely amazing. I think you would be delighted of how much they were able to articulate the things that they have learned during their time in high school because of the contributions of people like yourselves. On behalf of the superintendent, our Board of Education, I thank you. I enjoyed being award-winning and being a part of this team, so I deeply appreciate all of your contributions.
Jesse, Mona, Anthony, do you have any reaction to the program?
I think it's really well done, and I really appreciated having an opportunity to participate. And we've got to keep going. I think for me, the takeaway was that it was inspiring to hear that from the Lieutenant Governor, the importance of the in-demand sectors, and it opens up an opportunity for us to work even more collaboratively together.
Clearly, it was a shining moment for Cincinnati Public Schools, and I think it was great that Shauna Murphy also, made sure that it was an opportunity to see if there were other initiatives that could be, brought to Cincinnati and other parts of these, jobs in demand, whether it's construction or healthcare. So I think the Lieutenant Governor, also heard that message.
I don't have much to add. It was just a really great experience. And I think they really heard about, what we're doing and what we plan to do and, giving him a pitch of what we need from them as well.
Yeah, we had the opportunity to sit with the Lieutenant Governor in a roundtable format after he gave a speech and then talked to the students and got their input. We sat around a table and got to share our thoughts with him. He really opened up the floor to comments and questions and wanted to make sure that we had a chance to get our points across. There were some other attendees who did the same. And even though it would have been great, to have 3 or 4 times the amount of time with him, the time we spent was very valuable. He took copious notes from what I could tell and was really listening and trying to hear the concerns that people express. So I think it's something that was really well worth it and a great honor for the district. I also think we had a chance to emphasize the importance of the work that the BACs do and just how important it is to keep getting that word out and hopefully throughout the state really encourage others to step up their game as well. But it was a great event and really glad that we had the chance to be heard.
Thank you all for sharing your sentiments, and I definitely agree. Moving on to career-based learning updates, if I can, Alan, if that's okay. Earlier this year, and actually it started last school year, our superintendent asked us to really dream big on the work that we wanted to do. So in concert with all of the things that we've talked about already, there's still more work to do, and we have to meet our students in a different capacity and help them along their journey. Also, in concert with the economic vitality of our city, the school district specifically serves in a major capacity to help bridge some of the gaps to ensure that the necessary to achieve the jobs of tomorrow that don't even exist yet. So collectively, we've been working to really divulge a plan to address that future need. And we know that it is one that cannot be done in a silo. And so we're looking to build upon the success that we already have, but also move forward into the future. So we see ourselves as bridge builders to this effort, and we're really working to ensure that Cincinnati Public Schools remains a district of destination. With that, one of the biggest things that we are looking to do is to really start our voyage into creating this college and career center. Our superintendent has spoken multiple times about envisioning an actual physical location to this center where students across the district can not only meet their college and career plans through training and different programming efforts, but also have a spot for resources, really tangible location to get their needs met, as well as really either get back on track with their college and career plans or create extensions to those plans. So currently, we are looking to start this journey with creating a college and career center here at Central Office. And this is something that we're looking to start next school year, particularly with three main focus areas. The first is to provide a space where students can get personalized college and career coaching support, as well as really get assistance with navigating those pivotal spaces in the college and career industries to be able to navigate their way through them. So whether that's FAFSA and financial aid support, or really helping to meet their needs as far as workplace supports, like their birth certificate, making sure that they know how to access their social security card and things in that nature, tangible items that they need to be successful in the workplace, we will provide additional assistance to help them navigate those systems. Last but not least, we're looking to compile different resources for students. We know that there's some potential barriers that we have noted through the years, but we want to make sure that we're helping them navigate their transportation barriers, that we have supports if they need them for workwear or dorm room essentials, so that we eliminate those barriers that keep our students from achieving that next step. So I wanted to bring this to the council for multiple reasons. One, that you're aware that this is occurring, but also we will need your support. So a big part of this is really to compile the resources necessary for our students to be able to access them. So we will not only be asking the Business Advisory Council, but our college consortium partners, as well as our career tech advisory councils to help support this effort. So we will have staff, but this will really be a community effort to ensure that we're meeting the needs of our students. Our target audiences are our current seniors. So whenever we begin this particular effort, it will be for our current seniors as well as our most recent alumni. So one thing that we found was if students get off track with their college and career goals, once they exit our doors, they come back. And how do we help our school teams with the capacity to be able to meet those needs? This is a direct response to that. So I will pause to see if anyone has any particular questions related to the College and Career Center. This is still iterative, so we will need insight and we will solicit your insight moving forward. But I wanted to have this as an information point for you all.
I have a question about Cincinnati Youth Collaborative. Do they still exist, and they used to offer something like this? Is this what they used to offer? Are we extending that, or is it something totally separate?
So the Cincinnati Youth Collaborative is still our partner, and they will also be helping assist with this effort.
This is Monica Posey. It sounds great. Is this something where there also could be evening hours for individuals to assess the information, because the high school students will be on their school campuses during the day?
Yes, we're currently planning for flexible hours for this space. So there will be opportunities for students to drop in, but it will also be appointment based. So they'll have opportunities to engage at different time periods throughout the day. To your point, if they're in school, they can get a referral to the center from their counselor to be able to support coming after school or a time period that works best for them.
Hey, British Jesse, I have an idea. We've got a college educational committee consisting of all of our colleges in our region. That's led by Mark Thackeray from NKU, but Cincinnati State's part of that. UC, Miami, Ohio, NKU, etc. And I think it'd be a great idea for you to attend one of the meetings and provide an overview of this and then get their input in terms of what help looks like from their perspective.
Okay, I will connect with you offline to learn more about that committee.
Okay, great. Thank you.
To make the students be able to access the resources of the center without actually having to come to the board's location.
Yes, so part of that appointment piece could be a virtual appointment as well.
What
Brittany,
about no? Okay.
Go ahead.
Mr. Conley, go ahead.
Well, this sounds corny, but I think about the agricultural extension service. You go instead of expecting the farmers to come into town, they went to see the farmers. Is there any possibility of having roving agents or something that could go into the individual schools and work with students one-on-one at those locations?
That is a wonderful point. That's definitely an idea we can take back to the broader group for discussion. Thank you for that.
Hey, Brittany, it's Brian. I guess curious too, from a resource or connectivity, is there any sort of alumni network, CPS related, that would have interest and firsthand experience, right, of being able to relate to, as well as show the good, the bad, ins and outs of their personal experience to be a resource for current students?
Excellent point. So we've definitely, in our initial conversations with schools, we've heard that they would love to connect their alumni groups to this. So a lot of our schools have very robust and active alumni networks that are looking for additional ways to support students beyond monetary resources or helping out with school level events. So this will be an excellent opportunity for those alumni groups to also serve as mentors as well. Excellent point. Any additional questions, comments, or things that we should consider?
Brittany, this is Ebony. I just wanted to kind of know how the initial communication is going to go out into the schools to make sure that, and you may have said this, how students to know that this is accessible for them and to, promote them coming over. Or I do like the idea of entering some of the schools too to make this. I think this is a great tool that we're adding. But how are you going to start communicating that throughout the schools? Is there resource coordinators, your counselors? How are we doing that?
So marketing will be a huge component of this, not only to our current students in schools, but also to our alumni.
Okay.
So we are working on that. I can't, say that we have a full plan, but we do plan on engaging our counseling teams because we're not replacing our counselors. We're providing them added support. So that messaging will be key. We also need to ensure that, to your point, our resource coordinators are aware, our principals, as well as have some student ambassadors for this so that they can also share the word of how to access and how the center can assist students. So that is something that's in progress as well. So we wanted to bring this to you, one, for the excellent feedback that you have been able to give us today. We're in the information sharing feedback portion of the implementation, so your input is definitely valuable to the process, and I'll be sure to uplift this back to our team and our assistant superintendent for further discussion and planning. So thank you for your top of mind thoughts. So moving forward, so as we've been talking about most of the meeting, we do put on these experiences for our students, and COVID has impacted the way in which we deliver those particular experiences to our school body. So in thinking ahead, I wanted to provide you with the full complement of our current planning processes related to these experiences. We provide career-based learning experiences from grades really 3 through 12, but the primary focus on engagement with our business partners really start at the 8th grade level. The BAC leads the majority of these efforts, but we do partner strategically within the community to build that capacity and also just for strategic partnership purposes. So I wanted to provide some key insights into what we're currently planning. We do still have a ways to go into the final version of this because we want to make sure that we are making sure that these events are safe. So we're following our district safety plan with these efforts. But also a little bit later in the agenda, we want to hear from you. We want to know what your company's policies are currently and how that will impact these experiences. So what you will notice is the majority of these experiences will be virtual and or blended in nature. And I asked some members of our team to come to the meeting today to kind of share out a little bit more about some of the blended approaches. We've been brainstorming consistently on how we can break up some of the virtual engagement. Our students had a lot of virtual instruction this past school year, and now that we're back in person, there's still a level of virtual engagement as it relates to these trainings and developments. So I'm going to ask Ms. Ann Allen to speak a little bit to what we're thinking on some of these blended approaches.
Sure, thanks, Brittany. So hi to those of you that don't know, I'm Ann Allen, advisory coach. I focus on, well, all of the schools. So we have been discussing how can we make these experiences effective for our students. So, I mean, in theory, virtually would be the safest and the best, but we know that that's not the best way to reach our students. Part of the reason we have all of these outside of school, mostly outside of school experiences, are because that's that touch, that experience, that physical being there is what makes such an impact to our students. So we've been trying to figure out how can we do this. We are exploring the idea of taking some of these experiences outside. So for instance, like a career expo that we would hold in, you know, a big grassy area like a football field or you know, area over at Jacobs or something along those lines so that we could still have the feeling of the Career Expo, even though at this time, according to the safety plan, we can't have indoor field trips. We've been talking about possible job shadow experiences where we have either a live member of the business that would normally take the kids on the experience, be live and recording themselves as they go around taking live questions, and having the students then in that case have like a in-building field trip. So it wouldn't just be something that you would just randomly have them log into online, but many of you were around when we originally did our Life Ready, where we pulled all the students into like an auditorium and they did the big experience together. So we're talking about possibly doing that type of experience. Mock interviews, we've done interviews virtually a couple different times over the last year. Those have worked really well, so we would probably continue that as much as possible. But we're really trying to think outside the box as far as making these experiences effective for our students. So when we say blended, we're looking at all different types of models of being able to get the kids immersed in the experience. Anybody have any questions about what I mean on that? Was that concise enough for everyone?
Thank you, Anne.
Mm-hmm.
Are you looking for venues for these events?
We will be if when we see what everybody is open to and available. So that's when Brittany said that later in the meeting we'll be asking you what's going on in your world. So then we may be looking for a little bit of some support in that area too.
Or if you're willing to come to us. So our safety plan currently prohibits field trips right now, as well as visitors into our buildings. So we're looking for smaller engagements that can still be impactful, more likely on our school grounds if that is also allowable. We're brainstorming so that we can take them back to our senior leaders, i.e. Ms. Murphy and Ms. Jones, who is on the call as well, for consideration as we think of unique ways to bring these experiences back in a different capacity. So this is definitely still iterative, and we're still brainstorming on the possibilities.
Brittany, are you open to a drive-through event where students perhaps are making it up here, but students can go through in a bus and drive through events for an expo?
That is something to consider. So Anne was actually telling me about her daughter's school experience with a drive-through component. Anne, if you care to share.
Sure. Yeah. So in that instance, we had the students. Normally, they would be like similar to an expo. Normally, the students would be in the gym with their projects. It's a biography day project. And they dress up like them and they tell you what they invented and why they're important and all that type of stuff. And you go from booth to booth. So they flipped it this year and all the students were on the outside lining, the driveway to the school, and you drove through and interacted with them that way. I think that's something that we could definitely entertain. We would have to figure out a way though, because unless we do it like a walking, our students would be on a bus. So that would make it a little bit more difficult. But we may still be able to do a version of that. Like I can start to think about how we could get something like that together. So I think that's a good idea. Start thinking in that direction.
Thank you for your suggestion. Any other thoughts on top of mind?
This is Anthony. We know that there are the Summer Scholars Program going to be taking place in the summer, and those are, I think, great examples of where the students are going to be in schools. For example, at Woodward, they're going to be applying math through project-based learning to get math credit, and they're going to be working on, construction-related projects so that they can have that hands-on knowledge. And, I think, I'm sure that the other schools are probably involved. So there is a lot of active learning going to be going on as well as throughout the year, I would think.
Yeah, we're really hoping that no matter what we do, especially for the job shadow, when students normally get their hands on things and get work, that we can bring that aspect to the event too. When we're talking about making them effective, totally agree that's something that we need to have a component of it no matter how it's done. And so the most effective job shadow experiences our students go on is when they do go to a site and then get to do some sort of hands-on activity that's related to that career. So one of them was going to PG and building an ad campaign and, putting it together and everything. Other one were going to Meyer Construction, I think it was Meyer Construction, and walking through from beginning to end all the different positions and jobs that were there important. So I agree, we need to make sure that project-based learning piece is continued moving forward. And then one of the main reasons we don't want to just do flat out virtual across the board. I agree, that's very important. Thank you.
And in addition to these supports, schools also have their own experiences that we also support through the BAC as well. So I know Ebony has been doing a lot of work with Hughes this particular school year in conjunction to the BAC partnership as well. So we will still support individual engagements and connect onto those. But we also want to ensure that we're diversifying experiences and giving students as many career-based learning and career tech-oriented career experiences for our kids. So this is our current collective just thought pattern, and we'll be coming back to you for additional, more solidified dates as well as delivery models. So thank you all for your insights. So this is the part where we would love to hear from you. So taking into account not only the things that we've shared, but some pre-work that we asked of you to think about. We would love for you to share out what your current company and or industry policy is regarding engagement, whether it's bringing visitors into your building, if you've had a chance to talk to your company or your industry regarding their preference towards in-person student engagement, and that could mean at an outside space, it can mean you helping to engage in some sort of socially distanced engagement with our students. We just want to hear from you. So would anybody like to share what their current policies and procedures are?
Brittany, I can go ahead and start from Cincinnati Children's. So yeah, we, as you guys know, we're really working and watching and following the CDC guidelines, a lot of our professional leadership in the medical field. Currently, right now, we are not, we have brought, of course, all of our clinical staff. Frontline has been there for a while, but now we are incorporating some other clinical staff where it may not be frontline, but supportive staff is going back into our institution. By and after Labor Day, the majority of us will be trickling in, and that's including myself from community relations. And so we're slowly getting everyone back into the space, but we are also wisely making sure, because we recognize that a lot of young people, which we're trying to get, a lot of young people are not vaccinated or cannot be vaccinated at this time. So we are slowly watching how we let people come into our facilities for the sake and the protection of our patients and families right now. And the more and more things change, and the more and more that opportunities avail themselves for vaccination for younger people, those simulations will change. As far as what we can do from and maybe even our students that are coming in who are, fellows and student medical professionals, we're slowly letting those people come back in to train. We are training facility, and we want to make sure we get back to that as well. So for me, we will be looking at opportunities once I can't bring anyone into the building like we did in the past. Our job shadowing is still has been suspended. We are still looking at that, when we will open that up and what that will look like. I'm sure that will be not on the large scale, because we have to make sure that all of our students are accounted for and how many we have in the building at the time. However, there are plans to open shadowing back up. As far as like we used to do in the past and have students come to Children's Hospital and see the behind the scenes, right now there has not been any word to say when that will be opening up. I will definitely let you know when we have those opportunities. I'm sure once we do, we will do those on more smaller scales until we're available to do those on the larger scales. Even if we have to do some in the warmer months or possibly outdoor activities, we can consider those as well. So right now we are still in a limbo, but and I know we don't want to virtual the kids to death because they've been that, and me too. And so we are considering with our infection control, allowing some staff like myself to come into your schools once that is available to make sure that we can bring some hands-on demonstrations and some talks and speaks as well. So right now, we recognize things are opening up. Just to reiterate, we're looking forward to doing that. We're looking forward to continuing our partnerships and strengthen our partnerships and get back out and get people back into experiences at Children's Hospital. But right now, it's just not a definite. But hopefully here in the next few months, we will be able to say where we're going with that.
Got it. Thank you so much for sharing. That is very helpful.
This is Monica. I'll say a few things about Cincinnati State. Our goal is for fall of 21 to have pretty much a full spectrum of classes and services on campus, although we are going to take advantage of the technology and the learning, and some students want to continue with their online classes. But we will, for the fall, be limiting visitors and events. This summer, we're phasing in the activity to get all the teams and everyone back on campus in their offices, and we're beginning that. We are doing some small group tours for recruiting purposes, and we'll continue that in the fall for students. It could be from high schools or, just individuals. We get families come in, so very small group tours. And then what's key for us is spring of 22. So we're hoping in spring of 22 that we are opening up the campus for some of our larger events and more external partnership. So as I looked at your schedule of activities, so much is in the spring. So I'm not sure if you see a different policy coming into play at that point, but we definitely see different fall versus spring 2021 versus 22 policy, and we'll keep you updated on some things we might be able to do after the new year.
Wonderful, thank you. I think on our planning end, we're hoping that we see some changes. So we did kind of like shift a lot of our typical events to the spring. Would anyone else like to share?
I'll share this, Brittany. It's right now, majority of the business partners for Supply Chain OKI are under lock from visitors not going in. We have some partners right now that have open, and that, for example, TQL is open, Jurgens is open, but most of the partners are keeping a lockdown on visitors coming in and just running their business. We're planning, as we plan for our youth program of 2020, 2021, 2022, we're going to include virtual and in-person. We're not sure where we're going to be at that particular point in time right now, but we're planning to have both options available starting this fall.
This is Anthony with Allied Construction Industries. Jordan Vogel is also on the call, so please chime in. But I wanted to share that we've just been very active in engaging both educators and businesses. We've been running workshops around how educators can access the construction industry, as well as how the business community can work within the schools. We're very involved this summer now in the Summer Scholars Program with hands-on activities, teaming up with the teachers, applying math. In September of 2021, we'll be running the Construction Career Days Learning Challenges, and these are challenges that we've organized so that the students and the faculty can work on them together in the schools. These projects that'll be judged, and the students certainly enjoy the competitive nature of that. We did it for the first time last year because of COVID. And then in 2022, in May of 2022, we'll do our traditional Construction Career Days where upwards of 3,000 students will be invited out to the Butler County Fairgrounds over probably 2, maybe 3 days, and they'll have a chance to interact with people in the industry, learn about apprenticeship programs, operate equipment. Just a terrific opportunity for young people to learn about careers in construction. Also, if they wanted to go on to higher education, certainly Cincinnati State has tremendous programs, construction management and various technology, or if they wanted to go on to UC. So, I just think I feel really positive about the year ahead, and certainly lots of jobs.
This is Deb from GE, and like everyone else, we're hoping by next spring things are going to be as back to normal as possible, but our policies haven't loosened up at all since COVID started. So we are only having visitors that are essential to business. Our employees around the globe have found great ways to do mentoring and to do tutoring virtually. So they're still getting lots of volunteer hours in. They've just had to really change how they're doing it because we're not doing anything face-to-face with students or at any schools, but they're still definitely volunteering. So, that's really my update at this point. I would hope by spring we would be able to be participating more.
Hi, Jordan Vogel from ACI, and thank you, Anthony, for what you shared. It is interesting. So the construction industry is kind of its own animal, and it's very much a double-edged sword. And by that I mean, on the one hand, we're kind of open for business. We were deemed a necessary sector, et cetera, but we are kind of taking a cue from our members, our 500 plus members. We're having events. We're going to have our first events next month. It'll be an in-person event. We will be having a golf outing in June. We'll be doing the party part of our annual meeting in August. And our members are driving this. They want to get together. We've got our Reds outing actually in June as well. And the double-edged sword part, it's wild because just this morning I saw a Construction Dive publication. It's just a newsletter in the industry. And literally the first article was construction workers most hesitant to get vaccinated. So nearly half of the workers in construction across the country say they're not going to get the vaccine. So bad on that side, but on the other side, to answer your very specific question, the construction industry is probably a little bit more amenable to hosting kids for these programs.
It's Tom Laycamp from Cincinnati Fire. Obviously, we've been in the office for the whole pandemic. We are not allowing visitors off the street into the firehouses right now. However, we have started allowing students, paramedic students from our own program as well as Cincinnati State's program to come into the firehouses and do their ride time. We are having our cadet program over the summer, 40 high school age kids that will be investigating the fire service. So I think we are more amenable to doing the job shadow in October, as we did the last time, and we would just probably have most of that outside.
Hi, this is Ron Collier from PNC Bank. I can speak a little bit to what we're doing. We're currently not in the office, but we're doing a phased approach here mid-June to start to bring some employees back. So similar to what some others have mentioned. Visitors in the building, we are still pausing that piece of it. We do have a summer internship program with some college students, and we're keeping that virtual for this year. So I think in the summer time frame, we would still be looking to do something virtually to engage students. However, when it comes to us going to you all, that is something we would be able to do. We can certainly do in-person events, so we could come out and attend the high schools. Our only protocol there is we just have to certify that those attendees would be required to wear masks and keep social distance. But other than that, we do have approval to do events in person and to go out.
I can say what we're doing. This is Mona. We are not in the office. I'm not in the office yet. They're trying some things where maybe 2 people can be in our studio possibly at the same time. If they opt in, it's a whole thing. You know, you have to opt into this admitting or telling what if you've had the vaccination or not. So they're really starting slowly. There's no one else allowed into our building, and we're discouraged from going anywhere where there may be crowds, or like others have said, you know, social distance isn't possible and masks aren't required. We are discouraged from going anywhere like that. So, you know, it's possible we could go to something. I could go to something in person as long as I'm not working out of the building.
Anyone else? Well, this was extremely helpful. We will continue, of course, to provide virtual experience as well, and really kind of make sure that our programming ebbs and flows with the changes, with the guidelines from the CDC as well as our district's protocols. So we will take these notes and compile them and share them back out, of course, but also utilize them as we are planning to move forward with career-based learning and career exposure for our students. So thank you for this insight. It's invaluable. Switching gears, so I'm going to tag Mr. Allen back in to assist with this particular effort. At our last meeting, we talked specifically about the gaps that we have as far as recruitment on the Business Advisory Council, and currently we have been working to fulfill those particular pieces. So thank you to those who uplifted suggestions for replacements and or additions to the council. With Mr. Vogel's transition to ACI, we had a vacancy with the Cincinnati USA Regional Chamber that we've been able to fill. I've also been able to work with Artworks, which is a huge art-focused employer for young people in our area, and they are excited to also join us in the near future, as well as many of our career tech pathways are blossoming within the agriculture space. We wanted to make sure that we had representation for the agriculture industry as well. So the OSU Extension Office as well as the Green Industry are going to be joining us as well for new additions to the Business Advisory Council. In addition, we've had companies uplift their desire to be a part of it or have recommendations from the council to include additional representatives on the board. So many of you had an opportunity to meet representatives from Belkin. We would love for them to join because of the work that they're doing within our district. Interalliance, as well as a technology centered nonprofit who has uplifted a desire to be on the committee. And there are multiple individuals that I know Alan has talked with in the nonprofit sector as well for consideration in joining. Alan, would you care to share about recruitment?
Well, I think that captured it pretty well. I mean, as we told the Lieutenant Governor the other day, you know, we're really focused on trying to get as broad a representation as we can among the 16 careers. As we have gaps in our membership, we want to try to fill them. Many of you will recall from adopting our bylaws last year that we want to keep our membership at about 20 plus or minus. There's no bright line for how many members we can have, but we don't want the council to get too unwieldy. At the same time, though, we want to have appropriate representation. So we did get some good recommendations. Jesse, actually, thank you again for passing along some recommendations for the nonprofit sector, and Brittany and I are discussing those and considering a couple other possibilities as well. You know, the other thing, and I think this might be on another slide, Brittany, but you know, we've gotten a lot of good publicity lately, And the good part about that is that it's drawn some attention to our work and some interest. And as Brittany said, we've gotten some interest from people reaching out from other industries, but we've also had some people reach out who might be duplicative to the people we already have on the council, or whose career progression at this point might not be exactly what we're looking for, but they have something to offer. So we've discussed whether to add a working group to our structure. This would be in addition to any subcommittees, or working in conjunction with any subcommittees. Not necessarily like a junior board, but maybe to some extent serving the same function. A lot of entities have the main board, and then they have something of a junior board or special committees of up-and-coming people who will be in a position before too long to serve on the main board, but maybe their career progression isn't quite there yet, or they're not exactly what we need to fill the main board's functions yet. But we want them to be available to help us plan and carry out our events or special projects, be available to speak to students, help spearhead things like mock interviews, job shadow when those are available again, help us recruit people for the Career Expo. In many cases, they might be people who are closer in age to our students, and in some respects might be able to relate on a different level. So to try to capture the enthusiasm and the recognition that we're getting, and people's willingness to be a part of this and not keep it as a totally exclusive club, we were thinking of creating this working group so we could invite some people in and really groom them to be the next generation of leaders. So wanted to get people's thoughts about whether they thought that was a good idea, and any other thoughts they have about heading in this direction.
I think it's consistent with what we're currently doing with our board. We've got a really big board, but we also have subcommittees that we've created as well too, which are then led by sponsors from our board are leading some of those committees, but we actually give us more resources to get things done. I think it's a great idea.
Any other thoughts?
I agree with that. I think it's a great idea.
So here's what we'll do. We have a couple people who've reached out. Brittany and I will sketch out a structure to present to the board. We can reach out to the people who've contacted us, and also solicit from you any recommendations that you have for people who would be good. And I think we'll for next time, we'll have a definite plan in place for how the working group would augment the work of the board and our subcommittee structure, and start to move forward. We probably have a little bit of time, given that the time frame for some of our events is pushed back a little bit, and the work is just a little different this year and not quite as labor intensive for some of our partners. But I think if we can have a plan in place for next time, this would be a really good way to start grooming new people and spread the word as far as we can throughout the community. And I think it'll be a really positive boost for the work we're doing.
Agreed. And one other addition to our committee, which we are really excited about, we have board representation for this committee, and we're excited to welcome our newest addition to the Business Advisory Council, and that is Ms. Carolyn Jones. So she is on the call. I was happy to see that you got into the presenter mode so that we can welcome you and present an opportunity for you to speak to the committee and for us to welcome you and have you share anything that you want to with the group.
Okay, thank you, Brittany. It is indeed a pleasure and an honor, and I am so excited about being able to sort of be the connector between this committee and the board. I had a chance to earlier today to talk more directly with Alan and with Brittany, and now that I'm here as part of the meeting and very intensely I think there are great opportunities that I'm hearing, and I am so pleased at the level of enthusiasm and commitment that this has. So I'm very appreciative of that. And as I said to Alan earlier, being the newbie here, I'm soaking it all in, but please don't hesitate to ask me or pull me into things when it's necessary. And I'll do my best to be that positive conduit to the board that we need so we can continue to grow. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Thank you, President Jones.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brittany.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say we really appreciate that. It's as we've talked about many times, and as Carolyn and Britt and I talked about before. We're here to serve the district and the board. We're not here to take the place of anybody's function or impose what we want to do to the exclusion or in a way that contradicts what the district's trying to accomplish. We're here to help. So to the extent that we have active board engagement and can solicit their views and have our message taken back to them so we can work together, that's exactly what we're here for. So we really appreciate your participation and look forward to working with
And we echo that sentiment. So thank you. I believe the last part of the agenda is any new business and or questions for the full committee or the full council.
Anything else in anybody's mind? All right. Well, thanks again, Brittany, for putting that together. It's apparent from the public recognition we've gotten that good things are happening. Hopefully, we're turning a corner with COVID, and as we're able to start at least a blended model of getting our events back up and running, I think we'll move a little closer to normal, get where we need to be. Someday we'll get to meet in person again as well, which we'll all look forward to. I was talking with Jesse about how the event the other day was actually the first time that I'd been to an event like that in about 15 months. It felt good. So hopefully we'll all be able to do that again and be able to connect with each other. So we'll entertain a motion to adjourn at this point if there's nothing else.
Motion to adjourn.
All right. We will stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.
Thanks all.